This is not a normal week. You're on the verge of watching something huge begin, and if you're not looking closely, it'll pass you by. This week doesn't follow the usual script. Forget everything you thought you knew about September. The next few days are packed with pressure, intensity, and changes so sudden they'll catch you completely off guard. Your daily routines might get torn to shreds, old patterns will break, and the things that felt comfortable won't feel that way anymore. And just when you believe you've figured it out, this week will deliver one of the most significant astrological events of the entire year. Again, most people can't even wrap their heads around what's about to happen. Because if you thought the recent total lunar eclipse was a big deal, then you have no clue what's coming next. It's only going to get more intense from here. This isn't just another planetary alignment. It's the moment that will redefine the path for the rest of the year. And if you're watching this right now, you were meant to pay attention. The first event is already underway. Last night, we had the last quarter moon, and it's kicking off the week in a really critical way. If you already feel like September is bending the rules for you, go ahead and share your thoughts in the comments. You can even drop 222 along with it if you want to sync up with this week's energy. The last quarter moon isn't some quiet, peaceful phase. It's a moment of refusal. It's the final warning before something big arrives. Something you might not even realize is just around the corner. A solar eclipse. That's right, another eclipse. Most people brush this moon phase aside because it isn't a full moon, but that is the biggest mistake you could possibly make. The moon is sending out these signals as a heads-up, because when that eclipse finally hits, everything you chose to ignore could come rushing back with even more force. If you pay attention to these signs now, you'll be prepared. If you don't, the eclipse could take you by surprise. When it happens, every warning the moon tried to give you will suddenly click into place. But by that point, it might be too late if you weren't listening. Ignore this, and you're essentially walking blind into what's coming. There's something different about this week. It's going to make you want to pull back and look inward. Even the most outgoing people, the ones who are always surrounded by noise and action, are going to feel this pull. The desire to be alone will be stronger than you're used to. But this isn't about being sad or avoiding things. It's a gut feeling, an instinct, and there's a good reason for it. The energy this week makes being in crowds feel confusing and hearing everyone's opinions feel like too much. The outside world will seem chaotic, untrustworthy, and just off. But when you take a step back, when you opt for quiet time instead of distraction, your clarity becomes sharp as a knife. You won't find your answers in the noise of the crowd. You'll find them when all that noise fades away. This week, being alone isn't about feeling empty. It's about finding precision. In that quiet, you'll start to see connections you would have otherwise missed. You'll have insights you would have drowned out, and you'll feel a sense of alignment that can only come when the chatter stops. This isn't about pushing people away. It's about remembering that your inner compass isn't guided by outside voices, and if you allow yourself to step back, even just for a little bit, you'll understand why this week's energy makes solitude feel strangely productive instead of heavy. It's the silence that comes right before a breakthrough, and it's pulling you in for a very specific reason. And now for the event that most people have no idea is coming. We're having another eclipse. But this one isn't a lunar eclipse. It's a solar eclipse, the total opposite of the last one. On September 21st, the sky is going to put on a show that isn't just an eclipse. It's a hiding of the truth. This will be a partial solar eclipse, which means only a piece of the sun will be hidden, but its effect will be felt by everyone, everywhere. The sun, which represents our sense of truth, our ego, and our clarity, is going to be intentionally hidden from view. For a few hours, it's like the universe is literally drawing a curtain over reality, making everything feel a bit more uncertain and a whole lot more intense. This is the exact flip side of the recent total lunar eclipse. Instead of the moon vanishing, it's the sun that will be cast in shadow. So, what does that mean? We have some strong ideas, But with eclipses like this, you can never be 100% certain. But one thing is definitely clear. These back-to-back eclipses are not a coincidence. They don't just happen for no reason. Something about this time is different. The energy is more powerful. The outcomes are a mystery. And you can just feel that the week ahead is going to trigger a shift that no one can truly predict. So keep your eyes open. This isn't just another eclipse passing by. It's the universe changing the entire story. And the real meaning might not become clear until it's already happening. On September 16th, something happens that's subtle but huge. The Moon and Jupiter line up. At first, you might think this means a burst of good luck or a wave of optimism, but that's just what you see on the surface. Underneath, this isn't about getting something comfortable. It's about starting something new. You see, people misunderstand Jupiter. It doesn't just drop blessings in your lap or shower you with easy gifts. Jupiter is the planet of growth and expansion. But before Jupiter makes your life bigger, it needs to know if you're strong enough to handle it. Think about it. More money comes with more responsibility. More opportunities bring more pressure. And more freedom always means more accountability. Jupiter doesn't give you anything without stretching you first. That's why this alignment feels so weird. It doesn't look like a reward at first. Instead, it shows up as a doorway that looks intimidating, maybe even uncomfortable, a new responsibility, a difficult conversation, a risk that genuinely scares you. You might even think it's a problem, but it's actually an invitation dressed up as a challenge. This is exactly why so many people miss out on Jupiter's gifts. They turn away from the discomfort, they avoid the risk, or they run back to what feels safe. They think, if this was really for me, it would feel easier. But that's the biggest trap. The doors that are truly worth walking through never look easy. They look impossible until you're on the other side. Pay attention to how this unfolds for you this week. You might get an unexpected offer, but it will have conditions. You might meet someone who feels important, but they challenge you instead of just complimenting you. You might feel a sudden pull to take a big leap, quit something, start something, move toward something that feels way bigger than you. And your first reaction will be to pull back, because real growth never feels comfortable when it first shows up. And here's the catch. Jupiter's invitations don't last forever. The doors don't stay open for good. If you ignore it this week, if you treat that nudge like it's just a random thought, the door won't wait for you. It will close, and you'll be sitting there months from now, wondering why you feel so stuck, why your life hasn't moved forward. Opportunities don't vanish because the universe is mean. They vanish because you refuse to see them when they looked like a struggle. But if you're brave enough to say yes, if you step into that discomfort, you'll learn the real truth about this alignment. Jupiter doesn't just expand your situation, it expands you. It stretches your ability to handle more, to dream bigger, to stand taller. It doesn't make your life easier, it makes you bigger. Most people will miss this. Most will stay in their comfort zone, waiting for an easy path to feel like destiny. But if you're listening to this, maybe you were meant to see it. Maybe this week, that impossible-looking doorway isn't just another problem. Maybe it's your invitation to become the person you never knew you could be. Let's go back to September 21st, the partial solar eclipse. I already told you that this eclipse will hide the sun. But there's a darker side to that story. When the brightest light in the sky goes away, shadows don't just appear, they come alive. Think of it this way. The sun is like the ultimate protector of clarity. It shines a light on the hidden parts of your life, just enough for you to keep them in check. But when the sun takes a step back, even for a moment, those dark corners are no longer under control. The shadows you've been managing, your temptations, your distractions, your addictions, your weaknesses, suddenly get a surge of power. They start clawing for your attention like starving animals that finally see a chance to escape. This is why people feel so off during eclipses. It's not just random mood swings or weird energy. It's the hungry parts of yourself rising to the surface. That craving you thought you had conquered, it's back, and it's stronger. That bad habit you swore you'd broken, it's scratching at the door again. That fear you thought you'd overcome, it's whispering louder than it ever has before. But here's the real truth. These shadows aren't showing up because the eclipse created them. They're showing up because the eclipse is revealing how strong they truly are. For a few hours, you get a clear look at just how much power your inner demons actually have over you. And that's both terrifying and freeing. This is where the real test begins. Most people will trip up. They'll give in to the urge, start the fight, fall back into the same negative cycle, and then tell themselves, oh, it's just the eclipse energy. But it's not just energy. It's a mirror. It's showing you exactly where you've been letting yourself slip. And here's the twist. The eclipse doesn't just bring the shadows out. It also hands you a weapon. Because when those cravings and impulses are at their absolute strongest, so is your awareness of them. For once, you can't lie to yourself and pretend they aren't there. You can't hide from them in the dark, because the darkness itself is screaming their names. And in that moment, you get a choice. Feed the shadows or starve them for good. Imagine how powerful it would be to stand your ground when that temptation is screaming at you. Imagine telling that shadow no in the very moment it feels most desperate. That doesn't just make it weaker for a day, it leaves a permanent mark. Every time that shadow tries to rise up after that, it will remember that you beat it when it was at its strongest. And that memory will make it weaker. That's the true gift of this eclipse. It's not just something happening in the sky. It's a battlefield inside of you. And while everyone else is distracted by the sight of the sun disappearing, your soul is getting a chance to win a war you've been avoiding. So when the eclipse arrives, watch yourself carefully. What starts to bubble up inside you? Do you suddenly feel the need to run back to someone toxic? Do you get the urge to sabotage your own progress? Do you crave something that you know always leaves you feeling empty? That's your shadow showing itself, not to ruin you, but to give you a chance to finally look it in the eye. And if you stand firm, if you refuse to give in, then this eclipse doesn't just pass you by. It marks the moment you became unstoppable. Because what you always thought was your weakness wasn't a curse, it was the training ground for your strength. The eclipse isn't asking you to fight the light. It's asking you to fight what's been hiding when the light is gone. There's something about late September that makes people act in ways they don't quite get. The change from the summer heat to the autumn cool doesn't just affect the weather, it affects people. You can see it everywhere if you just pay attention. The energy starts to feel weirdly buzzy. People become restless. They act on impulse. They feel dissatisfied with everything. It's like there's this invisible force telling them, you need to break free. But here's the thing. They don't even know what they're trying to break free from. This is why late September has a history of causing strange behavior. Someone who's been chill all year will suddenly lose their temper over nothing. Friends will just take off on a random trip, chasing some unclear feeling of freedom. People will go into stores and blow money they don't have on things they don't really want. Some might even up and quit their jobs with no backup plan, just to feel the thrill of something different. And when they look back on it, they can't even tell you why they did it. It's like the season itself just flips a switch in our brains. The routines that felt fine a month ago suddenly feel like a prison. The goals that seemed so important now feel like cages. That feeling of restlessness is your soul's way of telling you that you've outgrown something. And September, more than any other month, drags that truth out of people, whether they're ready for it or not. The funny part is, this energy doesn't care who you are. It hits introverts, extroverts, planners, and risk-takers all the same. Some will feel it as a constant irritation, like nothing is ever good enough. Others will feel it as a deep desire to escape, like they're trapped in a life that suddenly feels way too small. And some won't even realize their mood has shifted until they're already in the middle of doing something reckless. Here's a challenge. Watch yourself this week. Watch your friends, your coworkers, even strangers on the internet. You'll see it happening in real time. Someone will start a fight they never meant to start. Someone will make a choice they can't undo. And you might just catch yourself looking at your own life and thinking, I need to shake everything up right now. The restlessness of September isn't just random. It's a signal. It's the link between what you've been dealing with all year and what you're about to step into. So the real question is, will you see it coming, or will it just pull you in before you even know what's going on? On September 19th, the moon lines up with Venus. On the surface, this pairing sounds like a blessing. But this week, it's not showing up as a gift. It's showing up as a test. Venus is the planet of beauty, pleasure, and attraction. It knows just how to pull you in with things that seem sweet, comfortable, and charming. And when the moon joins it, it doesn't just increase your desires, it puts them on full display. What you find yourself craving reveals exactly what you feel you're missing. This is why the 19th isn't just about romance or love. It's about temptation. Pay very close attention to what starts calling your name. Is it that person who you find irresistible, but deep down, you know they leave you feeling completely drained? Is it that impulse to buy something that will give you a temporary high, but leave you broke? Is it the comfort of falling back into an old bad habit just because it feels easier? These are the kinds of traps Venus sets when you're not looking. But here's where it gets really interesting. The moon won't let these desires just pass you by. Think of the moon as holding up a giant mirror. Every single attraction you feel this week will be reflected right back at you, making you ask, why do I actually want this? The real test isn't about whether you can resist temptation. It's about being able to see when you're being tempted by something that has no substance. The promise of sweetness is often the fastest way to end up with a bitter taste in your mouth. And this is why so many people will make poor choices during this time. They'll chase after attention just to feel validated. They'll chase after comfort just to avoid feeling uncomfortable. They'll chase after beauty just to run away from the truth. But if you can look past the shiny exterior, if you can just pause for a second before you jump in, you'll realize that Venus isn't trying to punish you. It's trying to make you sharper. The alignment of the moon and Venus is like standing in front of two doors. One door is beautifully decorated, glowing, and incredibly tempting, but it leads to a dead end. The other door is plain, almost boring to look at, but it opens up to something real and lasting. Most people are going to choose the pretty door. That's what makes this week such a major turning point. Will you be drawn in by how things look, or will you be able to see through the illusion? And here's the twist. Sometimes, the very thing you feel most tempted by is the exact thing that has been keeping you stuck. The comfort zone, the person who feels safe but keeps you from growing. The habits that calm you down but also keep you small. Venus is asking you a very direct question. Are you willing to trade fake sweetness for real strength? So when September 19th arrives, just remember this. Temptation isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you are on the verge of a major breakthrough. What you decide to reach for that day will say everything about what you're ready to let go of and what you're finally ready to claim for yourself. There is going to be one day this week that just feels different. You won't be able to put your finger on why at first. The world won't grind to a halt, but it will feel like it's slowed down in a way you just can't explain. Conversations that felt so loud yesterday will suddenly seem empty. The usual background noise of life, the traffic, the random chatter, the phone notifications will feel strangely distant and hollow. Even your own thoughts might feel like they're echoing, like there's too much empty space inside your head. It won't just be quiet. It will be unusually quiet. Most people will just ignore it and tell themselves it's nothing. But you need to know that when that sudden quiet arrives, it is not by chance. It's a signal. Silence is not just the lack of sound. It is the presence of meaning. And this is where things get interesting. That silence isn't coming to make you feel calm. It's coming to make you face something. In those hours when everything seems muted, all the usual distractions will melt away. And when those distractions are gone, the only thing left is what has really been bothering you. Some of you will feel a sudden sense of anxiety, a feeling that something in your life is just not right. Others will feel like the silence itself is asking a question you've been trying to avoid. Think about it. Why would the energy of a week packed with eclipses and planetary alignments suddenly become completely silent? Because even the universe knows that not all truths can be delivered with a shout. Some truths can only be heard when everything else has gone quiet. The silence is a mirror, and it will show you exactly what you've been trying to hide from yourself. This is why you must pay attention when it happens. Look around you. Notice what feels wrong. Notice who seems to be pulling away or becoming distant. Notice what inside of you feels unsettled. That is the message hidden within the silence. It's not about finding peace. It's about having something exposed. And here's the part that most people will miss. Silence can be tricky. It can feel like a pause, but it's actually the deep breath before something shatters. The world gets quiet right before a storm hits. A room gets still right before the truth is spoken. And this week, when that silence comes, it will have a heavy weight to it. So don't run from it. Don't try to drown it out with music or noise. Just sit with it for a moment and ask yourself, what is this silence trying to tell me? Because if you ignore it, the message will still find a way to get to you. It will just be louder, more intense, and much harder to run from. Every silence has a voice hiding inside it. You just have to be willing to listen. And this week, for one day, it will speak to you without making a sound. Whether you listen or not will determine what you carry with you and what you finally leave behind. As the third week of September begins, something strange starts to affect almost everyone. You'll notice it in yourself, in your friends, and maybe even in strangers you see on the street. It's this creeping sense of anxiety that isn't connected to any one thing, yet it feels urgent, heavy, and almost impossible to shake off. You start to think about the coming months, wondering if you've wasted the year, if you've accomplished enough, if you're really where you're supposed to be in life. It's not just you. This is the September future shock, and it hits a lot harder than most people want to admit. Just think about it. September is the month when the vibrant energy of summer starts to die down, and the shadow of the year's end starts to get longer. Our minds start to race ahead, even if our bodies are still. All of a sudden, December feels like it's just around the corner. And with that feeling comes a ton of pressure. The goals you haven't finished, the deadlines you thought you had plenty of time for, the plans that got lost in the shuffle of the earlier months. The closer we get to the end of the year, the louder that internal clock starts to tick. You might find yourself endlessly scrolling through your phone without even realizing it, staring at bad news or social media posts with a quiet hum of panic in your chest. You might wake up at 3 in the morning with your mind racing about money, your job, your relationships, or just about how fast time is passing. And you might catch yourself worrying about the future, creating all these imaginary scenarios of how things could go wrong before they've even had a chance to happen. That's the September scaries. It's contagious. It spreads like a virus through conversations, through moods, and even through the vibe in a room. But here's the part most people don't see. What if this surge of anxiety isn't just random stress? What if it's not a bad thing, but a signal? At its heart, anxiety is a burst of energy, raw, undirected power that doesn't know where to go. And September just turns up the volume on it. This is the month where your nervous system starts getting ready for a big change, even before your conscious mind knows what's coming. That's why it feels like panic, but really, it's potential that's trying to break free. Anxiety is just your future self knocking on your door, asking if you're ready to become who you're meant to be. The truth is, when this future shock hits, you're being forced to make a critical decision. Do you let the worry take over, or do you grab that restless energy and use it to push yourself forward? Because the pressure you feel in September isn't meant to punish you. It's meant to create momentum. It's the universe testing how you deal with not knowing what's next, how you channel that nervous energy that bubbles up when you realize time is moving faster than you thought. This is why some people will have a breakdown this week, while others will have a breakthrough. The anxiety is real, but so is the opportunity that's hidden inside it. When you feel it, notice what it's pointing you toward. Is it a dream you've been putting off? A conversation you've been avoiding? A risk you've been too afraid to take? That anxious energy will keep chasing you until you turn around and face it. So, yes, the September scaries are here, and they can make you feel like the ground is shaky beneath your feet. But maybe that's just because you're meant to step onto new ground entirely. The fear of the future is often just the first sign that the future is already calling out your name. And this week, that call is going to get louder and louder until you finally pick up. September 21st will bring a moment that most people will try to ignore, but they won't be able to get away from it. Saturn will be in direct opposition to the Earth. It's a straight line, a confrontation, a mirror that you can't turn away from. And unlike the comforting energy of Jupiter or the sweetness of Venus, Saturn doesn't try to make you feel good. Saturn doesn't offer you illusions or sugarcoat anything. Saturn looks you dead in the eye and asks, where have you been lying to yourself? This is the planet that rules over discipline, patience, responsibility, and structure. So when Saturn is in opposition, it's like someone shines a bright spotlight on all the cracks in your personal foundation. You might feel restless, uncomfortable, or even defensive this week, like someone is quietly judging you. But that's not some external force. That's Saturn showing you the honest truth about where you've been slacking off, where you've been making excuses, and where you've been putting off the hard work you know you need to do. Saturn doesn't punish you. It just reminds you of the promises you made to yourself. Some people will feel this as a heavy, suffocating pressure, like the weight of the world is on their shoulders. You might suddenly become very aware of your flaws, your tendency to procrastinate, or the bad habits you've been trying to ignore. Others might feel it through their relationships, moments where people seem to call you out, criticize you, or reflect back to you something about yourself you'd rather not see. And it's so tempting to fight back, to get defensive, to place blame. But Saturn's opposition isn't here to tear you down. It's here to make you stronger. Think about what a whetstone does to a dull knife. The friction, the grinding, the uncomfortable feeling of metal scraping against stone. It looks like it's destroying the blade, but it's actually what's making the edge sharper, cleaner, and more effective. That's Saturn in opposition. It's the friction of reality pushing against your life until you become more solid and defined. So yes, this week you might feel like you're being washed, as if someone is just waiting for you to mess up. But the truth is, that person watching is the Saturn inside of you, the higher part of yourself that refuses to let you settle for less than you're capable of. Saturn is the shadow that follows you, not to scare you, but to remind you of the steps you still need to take. And while it might feel tough, there's a sense of freedom in it too. Because once you finally face those truths you've been avoiding, they can no longer control you. This opposition is asking, where are you still faking it? Where are you still selling yourself short? And most importantly, are you willing to see yourself clearly enough to finally change? Because if you lean into Saturn's mirror instead of running away from it, what feels like judgment will quickly turn into guidance. The discomfort is proof that you are being improved, not rejected. So don't mistake Saturn's presence this week for a punishment. See it for what it is, a teacher holding up a mirror, forcing you to stop lying to yourself and giving you the chance to rebuild your life on a foundation that will not break beneath you. Saturn isn't here to break you. Saturn is here to make sure that this time you finally become unshakable. This eclipse isn't the final chapter. It's the spark that's going to start a chain reaction. As we stand here at the beginning of the week, everything still feels uncertain. The sun will disappear for a bit and then come back, but things won't just go back to the way they were. Something is about to shift, and the real story will unfold in the days and weeks to come. If you're already feeling like things are chaotic or unbalanced, you're not the only one. That tension is actually making space for something new to come in. Eclipses show us what can no longer be kept hidden. They don't just get rid of things, they expose them. Right now, we are at a turning point, The decisions you make in the midst of all this chaos will have an impact on the rest of your September. When the sun returns, will you look at things with fresh eyes, or will you pretend like nothing has changed? Remember, the energy doesn't just stop when the eclipse is over. Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, all of these forces are still working on you, pushing you to grow. So hold on to some real hope. Pressure is what leads to transformation. When the sky finally clears and you look back on this week, will you still be the same person, or will you be stronger, lighter, and completely unshakable? If you're still with me, I want to thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this and want to see more like it, please think about hitting the subscribe button. Your support means a lot. Feel free to share what you're going through or any thoughts you have in the comments below. Until next time, take care and subscribe for more content like this.